Hello and welcome back to the Better Everyday Podcast. John and Darren back with you. Darren in the barn today.
I am. John, it has apparently been a long winter, as my kids tell me, here in Indiana.
Yeah. You wouldn't know because you can get out of it anytime you want. But I think you give me 2 more days of rain and I'm going to start building an ark. It's getting real dumb out there.
It is rainy.
So
It is rainy.
Yeah. It feels in the midst of everything else in our life right now and in the world, it just seems like we could have a sunny day, like just one win would be awesome.
Maybe tomorrow. What was it? There's always tomorrow.
That's right. The Annie line. Yep. Well, I think speaking of that, I woke up this morning, I get email every day with a digest, and I'm thinking I may turn that off, but I get an email every morning. The idea is I don't dig into the newspaper like I used to, or keep on cable television news, because I just feel like it perpetuates cloudiness in my life. Like I just can't, it's not good for me mentally, but I also don't want to be completely caught off guard by something going on in the world that I need to know of. So I get this email with the 5 things you should know that happened overnight, basically. And I'm about to turn it off because it's a bad way to start the day. It's, what's interesting is they send it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's the 5 things you should know. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it's 5 good things. And what's interesting is I never miss the weekdays, and I very rarely look at the good things. And it makes me realize that, this is why our news channels have become what they are. We pay attention to the noise, to the bad news, to the scary stuff, and the good stuff falls through the cracks. And I'm noticing that in myself, and I'm about to turn off this stupid email.
Yeah, there's just, and we've talked about this a lot, but there's just a lot going on, and and as I always, hold up for the people that are getting older.
You're representing.
I represent the people that are getting older, but it always feels like there should be a choice as to how much you want that all the noise to impact you.
Yeah.
Naturally, it feels like I'm sucked into the noise, but it does feel like there's a choice there as to how much of that noise you want to plug into. We might have talked about this on the last podcast, so tell me if we did. But Michael Singer, I tell you, I keep listening to Michael's podcast.
Yeah.
And Michael does talk about the same thing over and over, but in a different way each time. And so it always resonates with me. But one of my favorites, and I can't remember what I talked about this last time, but one of my favorites is All Life is Suffering.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last time?
I don't think we have. I think that was a conversation you and I had over some cappuccino.
Okay. Yeah. So
and it all kind of runs together, but
I love this saying, all life is suffering, and suffering is caused by preferences. So there's all this stuff that's happening in the world. And what Singer would say, it's, billions of things happening all at the exact same time. And the only thing that really impacts us, that drives us crazy, is the stuff that's right in front of us. So the majority of it, we don't even know happened.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the 5 things happened because you get an email.
Yeah, right. But they already happened, and mostly somebody else suffered with them.
You can do about it.
Right.
But it increases a level of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So when the outside world doesn't match our notion of what it should be, then it creates a level of stuff in us. I just find that super interesting.
Yeah. So you say you represent, the people that are getting older, but last I checked, I think we all are. Um, y- you you've just been getting older longer than I have.
I thought you were going to say faster, but yeah.
I'm not faster, just longer.
Hey, I have a new quote. Not to interrupt your thought on this, but
Yeah,
I have to. So maybe we talked about this as well. It was Morgan Freeman having a
I love
discussion
Morgan Freeman.
with Clint Eastwood,
Hmm.
and they were talking about how Clint Eastwood, continues to stay young, and Clint Eastwood's response to that was, "Never let the old man in," and I love that. So just that's a
Wow.
nice little tidbit, but I really gravitated to that. Morgan Freeman was telling the story, so never let the old man in.
Wow. How did that hit? What I gotta pursue that for a second.
Yeah.
What is that? Like what does that mean to you?
Um, it means that I'm not gonna give up. So I was with a buddy recently. We were playing tennis in Florida. He's in our tennis group and he's in his early 50s. And everybody else is, I don't know, 65 to 70 in our
Hmm.
tennis group. Everybody's a really good tennis player. And anyway, this younger guy's a really good tennis player. He's from Pennsylvania. And he's like, AI, not interested, don't want to engage with it.
Mm.
Um, and so after we finish playing tennis, we sit and have what we call book club, which is essentially a beer.
With no books
And
ever.
we talk about, stupid things. Anyway, so we're talking about AI in this particular case, and he wants no part of it. And I talked to him about that quote. I
Mm.
said, "Mark," I said, "Man, there's AI's coming whether you want it or not, and it's going to change the world. You can either participate or not. You can choose to not participate, but at some point, I've watched this in my father-in-law. He still has his flip phone and stuff, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but at some
Yeah.
point in time, you can't hardly even get an airline ticket
Mm.
anymore. The
You're
world
right.
passes you by,
Mm.
right? And I think that's what Clint Eastwood was talking about
It's about
is
open-mindedness a little bit. I mean, does that
don't
say
ever
what you're meaning?
I no, I think it's don't don't feel like you're too old.
Mm.
Once you
To
let the
keep
old man.
learning.
Right, to
Yeah.
keep engaging and keep learning and keep participating. I think you let the old man in and you get stuck or you stop or you feel old.
Mm. It hit me different, maybe because I've been getting older for a shorter period of time than you have. Um, but I turned 50 this year,
Yeah.
and I know all of the sudden, I mean, all the things that people told me, you've probably told me 10 times that things change. But when I hit 50, all of a sudden I go get something out of the garage and it's heavier than it used to be. And like these little things that add up to this feeling like um I'm getting I'm coming to a new point in my life and I have a choice. And of course Reese my son is a weightlifter. He's in the gym every day. And when you said don't let the old man in, it made me think of the day in January where he said, you get to choose whether you get weaker or stronger. And he got me going to the gym. I've been going every morning. And I am getting stronger. It takes me longer to get stronger than it used to. But when you said don't let the old man in, I thought that's what I thought of, is this physical weakness in me that went, well, okay, I guess my initial reaction was, is it time to buy a recliner? Like, is it?
The story most of our listeners have not heard, but maybe a few have if they remember any events that we did 15 years ago. But remember the story I told you about the time we were in Chicago
I know where you're
and
going.
we were at the Levi's store
Yeah.
and my daughter had said, "Dad, you're wearing old man jeans." I was 40 at the
Yeah.
time.
And
He's
you
like,
were. I've seen those pictures.
"I know." And and that was the point where I realized I was letting the old man in and I didn't even know it.
Hmm.
And that was a turning point. So it's an interesting idea, I think. I just love the way that Morgan Freeman retold the story.
I love his voice. Well,
Yeah.
I wish I could do it. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I think that's a profound thought, and I think the fact that it gets harder and harder to not let the old man in or the old woman in, the old person in. Um, do you find you have to be more cognizant about when the old man tries to creep in, or do your habits keep it from that happening?
I think my habits keep it from happening. I think now I've developed a rhythm, a discipline, and we can talk more about disciplines, but we I feel like I've developed a discipline of, wanting to be engaged, wanting to be current, wanting to be
Hmm.
involved, paying attention to all of that and to the way I think and the way I read. But probably leads us to the point of our discussion today, which is there's a fine line where for me, I want to be intentional about the things that I engage in.
Hmm.
I think you and I had talked about this, but I have the distinct pleasure gift of being able to live in two different places.
Yeah.
So I can live in Florida part of the year, and in Florida, I'm on an island. And this island, they they videotape everybody that comes on and goes off so that they know if there's a criminal coming on. So it's like this really safe island, and you're really on
Hmm.
an island on the west coast of Florida. And then I come back to Bloomington, and I can tell a anxiety difference between those two places. So when I'm in Indiana, I'm plugging into more of the world,
The noise. Hmm.
the noise. And when I'm in Florida, the noise is pretty shut out. I'm walking or I'm playing tennis, or Michelle and I are out to dinner and she's walking and doing, her thing too. And um, man, you can really, after a couple weeks, start cutting the noise out, and you can feel physically different when you do that. And
Hmm.
then when I come back to Bloomington, um, work more, plug into
Hmm.
more drama, plug into more of the world noise, and then I get into a whole different motion
Yeah.
uh, of life.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just interesting to be able to see those two things, John.
Yeah. So, as a person who doesn't live in two different places, in fact, it's raining so much that the driveway on the one place that I do
Maybe
live
you'll
is
live on an
falling
island.
off. Yeah, I might be on an island accidentally soon because my driveway's falling apart. Um, I can't. I don't have the choice to
Right.
go somewhere else physically in order to unplug. So what what can I do to not be so influenced by the noise around me? What do you just go to Florida when the noise gets too big in Bloomington, or are there habits that you're building in Bloomington that help you drown the noise anyway?
I for me, John, hitting it really hard for what it felt like 50 years. Um, being in Bloomington, the noise just built on top of noise each year and just kept getting a little bit noisier and a little bit noisier and a little bit
Hmm.
noisier. So I didn't even know
Hmm.
that I could feel differently. I was unable to identify that. So for me, in hindsight now, I think ideally that you would realize that your the pot is getting a little bit warmer all the time. It's
Hmm.
not getting warmer by
The frog in the
the
kettle.
yeah, it's just getting a little bit warmer all the time. So I think that starts by just understanding that.
Yeah.
Um, and even the fact that I understand it now, it's really hard. to have the disciplines to separate
Hmm.
myself from that, because when I am back, and it's not a bad thing for me, when I'm back, I love it. I like plugging in. I like doing all the things that we do, but you can feel it just getting a little warmer and a little warmer. So you asked me what you do about it. I'm not sure,
Hmm.
but be aware of it is really important. Um, I mean, what's your
Reminds
thought?
Well, it reminds me of Mickey Singer talking about, and I'm sure he's not the first one. I think Eckhart Tolle did too, about the seer. Being able to have the conversation with yourself. Who am I? Am I living this life, or am I seeing this life? And if I'm the seer, if I can see if I can step away from it for a minute to get perspective, I can see it coming. Um, Darren, I was telling you recently about Henri Nouwen,
Mhm.
who I absolutely, obviously don't line up with everything he's ever believed and said, but um, he talks about these three lies that you tell yourself when you're in the midst of the noise and you're out of control. And what I've used those three lies as like this uh-oh moment. When I start telling myself one of those lies and I hear it almost audibly in my actions or in my mental health, I go, uh-oh, I'm in that place again. I'm in that place where I am pursuing something that it's not going to lead me where I want to go. The I am I am what I have is one of those lies. And so if I start if I start going to your house and going, man, I love Bruno Cucinelli. I wish I could have shoes, and I'm not good if I don't. And I move from envy to I I become what I'm not almost, and I get drained by it. Or his second lie is, I am what people say I am, and so this causes me to be a people pleaser to the point where it ruins my life and the lives of my businesses and the things that I do outside of. If I catch myself in those lies and I stop for a minute, I can realize that the noise is leading me somewhere that I don't want to go. It's almost like I have these triggers that remind me. But when it's real noisy, sometimes it's hard to even recognize the triggers.
You know, so the noise is the noise being caused by your ego, in the egoic sense, I guess, and not by, you know, your true self. So is the noise.
Yeah, now you're getting into Richard Rohr. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think that's part of it. I think it starts from there, and it becomes when you let your psyche begin to be a part of the noise, then you let other things in, and all of a sudden whatever cable news channel you're watching adds to that noise, and you're not able to filter it through what's true and what's not, and it all becomes the same weight, and that weight gets heavier and heavier to a point where you're in what, in my book I talked about as survival mode, which is the state that you're in defense mode instead of an intent mode. And so the whole world is out to get you. And in that moment, man, is it hard. Unless you can get on an island where they shoot video to find out you're not a criminal and you can go play tennis all day, it's really hard to step away.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not sure I have an answer, Darren. I would say that the disciplines in my life, whether it's relational discipline, physical discipline, business discipline, financial discipline, those are the things that when I engage in them, I get a glimpse of oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. The noise is driving me and I'm becoming defensive instead of intentional. Um, but without those disciplines and that engagement in the things that I know are best for me, I do tend to just react to the weight that the world puts on me.
John, just imagine for a moment you're a listener and you're not a reader.
Yeah.
So put yourself in a different spot, right? You're not a reader. Your mind's telling you that you're this, that, and all this stuff. It's not your true self. It's just your mind. And your mind
Yeah.
gets formed based on your childhood, based on your lived experiences, all these different things. So you start thinking that that's who you are, and you feel trapped
Mm,
in in that. So as I was listening to you, I was just thinking about, in order to start developing the disciplines that you talk about, you have to kind of become a seeker
mm,
first. I mean, you have to be aware. It kind of goes back to my awareness. You know, was maybe when I started spending more time in Florida is when I started reading more and started listening to Singer or Richard Rohr or, Henri Nouwen or whoever more. And I started learning about how to see myself
mhm.
more for I'm not just my thoughts. I can do something about this. So it's just giving you the tools to
Yeah.
then create the disciplines. Does that make any sense?
It does. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where I would be without authors, without people that don't see the world the way I do, speaking life into me and perspective. Um, when I was dealing desperately with anxiety, I deal with it all the time, but when it got really bad, my mom, who does like CBT type therapy, put this picture in my brain that I think of all the time. And it helped me a lot that if you can imagine your thoughts on a log going down a river and you get to watch it appear and you just not bob your head with it as it goes along and then it disappears and you go find the next one, all of a sudden you become the seer. You are not that thought. Your life is not that thought. It's on a log in the river and it goes by. And all of a sudden you find yourself at the core getting to choose instead of reacting to that thought as though it's your life. And I think that picture, as much as anything in my life, has helped me separate who I am from the circumstances and the preferences that I have. Um, and I
Yeah.
think it's a visual for me.
I'm gonna go back and butcher some of Michael Singer's stuff just to sort of repeat what I heard
It's
you
what we
saying.
do.
But, I started out by saying, he talks about all life is suffering,
Mm,
and suffering is created by our preferences.
mm,
And our preferences are all wrapped up in those thoughts that are floating down the river
yeah.
on the log. Um,
Mm,
and that's what creates so much chaos and anxiety in us when the outer world doesn't match the inner world, our thoughts,
yeah.
that we're having. Oh, I want that guy to drive a little bit faster, and he's not.
Mm,
So now I'm all anxious about that. Or, and one of the things that Singer talks about is, these billions of things that are happening across the world all at the
yeah.
exact same time. And we don't know about, 99.99,
Mm.
the majority of them. And so we have no opinion about those things.
And they don't affect us because of
They don't.
the lack of
Right.
opinion.
The lack of preference.
What's at stake here, Darren? Like, I feel like I get glimpses of what we're talking about. I don't have long periods of time where I feel like I'm living in um, the right state here. What does it cost us to live in the noise instead of find ourselves out of it?
For me, John, it's not, it's cruising through life without intentionality.
Yeah.
It's accidentally ending up here or there without intentionally choosing that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think it's not like you're a worse person or a better person or anything, but for me personally, there's health choices that
Mm.
I wanna be intentional about other than just ending up, in a bad situation. there's probably financial, there's relational, there's all these key components of my life that if I'm not intentional about those, God, everything goes back to some of the things Covey said with begin with the end in mind. But if I'm not
Yeah.
intentional about those, I'm just going to drift. Brings the log metaphor back to, but
Mm-hmm.
drift into something that I don't know. I just want to be more intentional. Maybe that's just who I
Yeah.
am.
No, I think that is I think that's a great answer. I think it's about getting to be more intentional about where you are in your life. Um, I think the hard juxtaposition there is, how do you do that without preferences? How do you choose what you want, be intentional about what's next, and also hold it loosely enough that when it doesn't happen, you don't become part of the noise?
I mean, there's a whole lot of probably Buddhist thinking that just because, I mean, you have a preference. It's, when something comes in, it's how you deal with what comes in. It's not it's not that you didn't feel it. So
Yeah.
not have preference. The goal is to not have preferences.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just not to stake your whole life on them
be able
ending
to
up the way that you intend.
experience it and let it go versus experiencing it and driving it deep into
Yeah.
your being so that it drives you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this is so relevant right now because there's so many things I could drift off into. You
Yeah.
know, AI is sort of everywhere in both of our worlds at the moment. We're
Mhm.
very interested in that. Social media, you and I are both sort of like, what the heck? You can get sucked
I
down that
know.
hole. Um, and just there's so many things fighting for our attention
Mhm.
right now, and I don't know, just being able to step back and have an awareness. I think this goes back to just reading some really good stuff to
Yeah.
help you make sure you're intentional and understand what's happening so that you can be intentional.
It's good stuff, Darren. I love the quote from Clint Eastwood. Don't let the old man in.
Working at it.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job. I appreciate getting to do life with you while you're doing that. So I don't know what you heard today that might move your day forward and your in your business forward, or whatever brought you here today. But I hope you don't let the old man in, the old woman in, the old way of thinking that we are who we are and it's set that way. And I hope you get a break from the noise. Darren, it was good to be together as always.
A lot of fun, John. I have tennis on Monday.
I know. Enjoy your trip to Florida. Thanks for listening to the Better Everyday podcast. We'll see you next time.